Pretty cool format.
I
There's
fully,
Terry.
I fully anticipate a naked baby walking through the
And then it was like too
shot.
too risky for YouTube.
Yeah, we'd have to live blur.
All right, folks. Welcome to episode 3 of At Home with Mark. And I'm super pumped. I use a bunch of this gentleman's pedals, and I love them to death. And super happy to have Zach Broyles from Mythos Pedals with us today.
Here
So
I am.
thank you for thank you for joining us. I have to cue up my sound effects for you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for making some time.
Sure.
How's everything going as far as down there with COVID and your family and everything, first and foremost?
Well, it's not so bad. So everyone thinks that we are in Nashville proper because that's kind of where Mythos really kicked off, was in Nashville. But we moved further out of town. So we live northeast in Hendersonville, which is like the next county over. And it's definitely like, small southern town. A lot of people don't want to wear masks and don't want to do the right thing. But it's fine here. Nashville's gotten better. They keep reopening the bars, which is like, why? Because there's so many tourists that still come in. It's ridiculous, but it's getting better. The cases are falling down, I think.
That's good. Are musicians working down there again? Or are they like really super strict about that too?
There are a lot of people doing like small gigs. When they reopen the bars, there were a lot of people gigging again, but that's always kind of in flux with all this. But you're starting to see I'm starting to see a lot more of my friends post stuff in studios and things. So people are starting to get together and do more, traditional Nashville things. Definitely not as much live music because there's just no one really out and about,
Right. I wonder if like there's just a ton of people still on Broadway, still like boozing and like spreading it.
Well, there were, and that was the thing. It's like, masks were required, but no one was wearing them. And I had all these friends who were either gigging or knew people gigging, and they were sharing videos from downtown of just seas of people with no masks. And and they had like a thing because in Nashville near downtown, if you can have a drink on the street.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had a drink in your hand, you didn't have to have a mask on, which is, I mean, but just don't, I don't know.
Right. This is my excuse, bro.
Yeah, I don't have the patience to like, I've only gone downtown maybe 10 times my whole life. I have no interest in going down there, unless something really cool is happening, and most of the time it's not. So I just avoid it like the plague. And now, I'm glad that I did and I do. So
yeah, dude, my brother-in-law is a scientist for NIH and infectious diseases, so he's like been in our ear since February. So we're like mega. Yeah, I haven't done any gigs. I did one gig in June that's outside at a brewery. And that even felt weird. Like, the whole thing of like drunk people coming up at the end, like wanting to talk to you. That I'm like backing up. Step back, bro.
Man,
is there?
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, man.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, it's so strange that is, I think that's going to be the norm for a long time, of not really shaking hands, staying far apart from each other, even after all this is kind of over. I think we're like socially going to be distanced for a long time after this.
Oh, for sure. Is there anything about, like, I was talking to a buddy of mine last night about this, and he's a drummer and he's not playing, and he's like, I'm kind of okay. If there's anything that made me realize how much I was not doing during this, like as far as like being with my wife, like I was kind of like interrupting her time because I was playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Is there anything about this that you kind of had a realization or a light bulb go off, like this is more important than this? Like I shouldn't do that anymore, that kind of thing?
My life hasn't really changed all that much, just because, my wife is at home with the baby. Baby, he's 2. I work from home. So like the only thing that's really changed for us is just being able to go and do things with him out and about. But my day to day hasn't really, nothing's really shifted. The only thing that has been way different is I'm just busier because there was such an influx at the beginning of all this for me that I I'm finally now kind of getting caught up. But
Hmm.
I got back from the UK right as all this was kind of starting because I went to do that pedal show in Anderton's,
Hmm.
and I came back, the world kind of shut down, and then the videos I did with them dropped, and then my sales just went crazy
I bet.
through all my dealers. So I was just like, working insane hours, and um, not so really nothing has been that different for me. It's just I have to find a balance of work and rest that I've had to do for a long time, but it's just been a lot harder now because I've been so busy.
I saw your post about how you were saying you like even taking a break, you give yourself a hard time. I feel like that's the way that a lot of musicians are that are really
Yeah.
passionate about what they're doing. That's a tough situation to be in, and I can only imagine because just seeing what you do every day is I don't even know how you do that with like working while doing an Instagram live and trying to connect with your audience. And man, it's just so much.
It is.
But
And
it's really impressive, man.
it, my thing, it's hard for me to switch off from work mode. And because even when I'm relaxing, and usually Saturdays or like family day, I try not to, at least not go in the garage and work. I'm allowed to go out there and get a hammer or a screwdriver, but I'm not allowed to like switch on the soldering iron and sit down unless it's like for me, unless I'm like
Mhm.
changing a pickup or something. So it's really hard for me, even in the days where I'm not working, to not be thinking about it because I'm like, oh man, I could do this circuit, or if I move this cap 3 millimeters to the right on that board, I could change the layout and it would make more sense. Like those are the things that obsess me. So it's really hard for me to switch off, and the whole I do feel guilty all the time, even mainly because like if I'm doing something for me, I feel guilty because even though the work is mine, it's for my family.
Mhm.
I'm like earning money to take care of everything. And if I feel like if I'm resting when I could be working, I should be working. And it's a vicious cycle. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
people go through it, but it's really, it eats away at me. And so like, that's why I work so much. And I have to be forced to stop.
Yeah. Do you ever wake yourself up? Do you like have ideas? I've written songs in my sleep. Do you ever wake up and you're like, I gotta write that down or like anything like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of, uh, not necessarily like complete ideas, but I'll get little snippets of like sometimes when I'm asleep. I think a lot when I'm driving about like circuit possibilities or designs or combinations and stuff. So I all the time. There's never a moment where guitar or pedals or something is not running through my head. It's which is weird.
It's a curse and a blessing, man.
It is, and I try to do like I just did this. I posted this in my stories. I made this last night because I was trying to like get out of my
Nice.
like stop thinking about guitars, so I made a snow speeder.
Oh, that's so dope. Oh, we're
And
gonna
like
get
doing this,
nerdy, trust me.
yeah, doing this like helps me switch off a bit, and like
That's
playing video
awesome.
games and stuff.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Yeah. And so I want to ask you, so I've been starting all these off with this question, and it may be a varied answer, so go take it wherever you want it. But for me, I have a one single moment in my life that I knew I wanted to play guitar. Like
Mhm.
I heard Pearl Jam's 10 in my buddy's room playing Sega Genesis, playing NBA jams, and he put that on and I'd never heard it. And I was
Right.
like, boom, I want to play guitar. So is there something, an album or a song or, something that just you're like, what is this? Like, I have to do this.
Yeah, Cream, Crossroads, the live version of Crossroads. Um, my dad, I don't know if you're good. We're probably close in age,
I
close-ish.
just turned 40.
Okay, so I'll be 36, so
Okay.
not too far off.
Hmm.
All of my dad's like CDs in the car growing up were all greatest hits albums.
Nice.
So like Tom Petty, ZZ Top, Cream of Clapton. Like the Cream of Clapton CD had the live Crossroads recording. And when I heard that when I was 14, 15, the solo and all that in that song made me go, I have to learn how to play guitar so I can do that. And I've still never learned that solo properly.
Was that moment like can you remember like the thoughts that went through your head of why you wanted to do it? Like what was it about it?
Guitar had always seemed so cool to me because my parents loved guitar music, blues, rock, everything. But there was always like guitar centric music in the house, and no one else in my family plays guitar. My sister played piano, and we were in school band and stuff. But when I was I was a teenager, and I was wanting to like find something that I could identify myself with, and I always wanted to play guitar. And then when I really because I'd heard that song, but when I really listened to it, because I think so often some great moments in music kind of pass us by, like we don't actually realize, oh my gosh, this is amazing, because it's just kind of like background noise.
Mm-hmm.
When I really sat down and paid attention, it blew my mind to the point where I was like, I have to get a guitar. I have to learn how to do this. I have to, do something in that world. And yeah, I got my first guitar when I was 15. So it was 14-ish.
What guitar was it?
I got a PV Raptor.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't one of the USA ones, but like for a time they had like this kind of Ibanez Strat shape. They were a little pointier. And then they went to like this kind of like smushy version of the same thing. It was before the smush, but the normal Strat shape, and I still have it. I tried to relic it with like a pocket knife on the back and stuff, but yeah, it was an okay guitar. But I quickly realized I liked humbuckers and stuff more. So,
what were you playing through? Like when you were that age, when you got that, like, what's your amp?
Oh gosh, it was there was a PV dealer in the town over. So I had a PV. I want to say it was a Backstage or some small practice amp. It wasn't like the Rage amp, but it was like that same sort of solid state thing. And I had a wah and a Smashbox, Ibanez Smashbox. Eventually, like I got that like a year later. Yeah, man, tone lock. You push the knob down. People still go crazy over those. Oh my gosh.
Dude, I remember. I know. I remember those, man. And I remember, so my first amp, my parents got me a guitar for my birthday, and they got me a bass amp. It was a PV, like little combo bass amp. And I was like, why do all my friends have this cool, like distortion sound, and this amp can't do that? And then my buddy came over. He's like, bro, this is a bass amp. And I was like, Dad, what did you do to me? So then like we went out, and luckily it was close enough to let us return it. But I got a Rage 108, like one of those little 8-inch, man. And if you get that thing on that one channel, if you crank it up, it's like the most terrible buzzsaw, but it's got a thing.
They do have a thing. And there are people making distortion pedals based off that circuit, which
really,
yeah, I don't understand it, but whatever.
Why not?
Yeah.
So that was, if you were 14, would that have been like late 90s, late 90s?
Yeah, it'd be like 98-ish.
Okay.
Something. Yeah.
So yeah. So when you were at that time, I'm trying to think of, because you're a Weezer fan, right? We got to connect on that because I love Weezer.
Yes. Yeah. I remember the Windows, the video on the Windows CD. The Buddy Holly was on that. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Totally.
That was my introduction.
So were you okay? So were you listening to that stuff before you heard Cream, or was Weezer post Cream? Like, what was the timeline there?
Well, I'd always listened to, like, I've always loved music, and so I had a kind of eclectic taste even when I was younger. Not like really, but for a teenager in Sparta, Tennessee, I think I was doing okay, better than most for the things I liked. but like I didn't find guitar inspiration in Weezer necessarily, like power chords and things didn't strike me. I've always kind of gravitated to people who play solos. So that's kind of like, I'd always loved Eric Clapton as well. And so that when I was becoming a teenager and hearing that, it kind of freaked me out. And I was like, oh my gosh. Cause I've gone through, I went through Metallica phases. I went through a lot of phases, but Weezer, like really, I really, really fell in love with Weezer with the Green album. And then I kind of, went back because I was a kid when Weezer was really, really popular, or, when they first hit anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that whole era, like during that time, because I was probably in middle school, maybe. Yeah. Like that's when I heard Pearl Jam, and that's when I heard like Nevermind and all that stuff. But then Weezer it was just a different thing to me because it was like sludgy melodic. You know what I mean? Like,
well, it was so. I mean, I think as much of it is Rivers, a lot of it is Rick Ocasek, and that poppiness that the Cars always had, but with Mesa Boogie amps. I love it. I love the first two records, especially.
Yeah. So, what did you think of? So, like, I guess Maladroit was after the Green album, right?
Pretty sure. Yeah, that was the fourth album.
What did you think as far as like the curve?
In high school, I loved it because I saw them on that tour. I think that was the first time I saw them. And because I was going to see him on the Green album tour, but I couldn't. It was like, I think it was at Bandcamp and I couldn't go.
Nice.
But I liked it. And, when I go back and listen to it, to me, that still feels kind of like Weezer, and as it goes on, it feels less and less like Weezer and more like a parody of Weezer, which is a shame. But that album, because I remember on their website, they would post a lot of like demos and things of that record.
I never saw that. That's interesting.
Yeah, there were like just MP3s or waves or something of the demos. And I had me and my best friend Ben would download them and listen to them, or at least listen to them on our computer, and it was a good time.
Yeah, I felt like that after that record. That was like when I was graduating from Salisbury when that record came out, and I think I went to that tour too. Were they touring with Tenacious D?
I think, I don't know who opened for them. It wasn't Tenacious D. I would have remembered that.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. So I have to say, as a show, that was pretty great. But like, what like threw me off is like that was the period of time when Weezer like moved to like using Line 6 pods, and I was like, no,
yeah, they didn't have any do that. Stage.
It was, oh man, I remember just sitting there being so disappointed that there wasn't like big Marshall stacks or whatever, like, and it sounded fine. I mean, it was fine, right. But at the same time, I was like, I thought I was coming to a rock show, like,
right?
You know what I mean?
Man. Yeah, it's funny. Like, I think, like when you go to big concerts now and you don't see amps on stage, it's kind of like normal. So when you do see them, and it's actually like you can hear an amp. It's kind of freaky because the last time I heard an amp at like a big amp loud in a nice building was when I saw Jeff Beck, and he had like a Marshall half stack, like an old one. It was loud, and where my wife and I won tickets off Lightning 100, the radio station here in town, and where we were sitting was like right in the path. And it was just like, oh my god. Amazing.
So you lost probably some hair, some eyebrows that night.
Yeah,
maybe possibly
it just receded a little bit.
Is there I wanted to ask you about this, so like just in terms of like gear and stuff that you've bought and owned, and so for me, and I talked to Joey about this because like we're both huge Doyle fans, and like so like half of my board is Joey's fault and half of my board is Doyle's fault.
Right.
Can you remember the first thing you bought that you were like, this guy uses this, I'm going to buy this, and then I'll sound like him?
I've never been really like that. I've I know that sounds odd. Maybe I think the first I I really wanted a DL4 because of guys like Dave Knutson from Minus the Bear and uh, Omar from the Mars Volta and stuff like
Mm,
that. I know that's like way later in my guitar playing life, but up until that point, I think the only pedal I bought because I was super inspired by somebody was probably a wah to play like Jimmy. And I never really dove headfirst into say like, oh, I have to have, you know, a tube screamer because of so and so or whatever. I just never I was never like that.
yeah.
I remember the first time I spent an insane amount of money on a boutique pedal, but it wasn't because of any particular player.
Hmm. What,
Insane at the time.
what pedal was that? Was that a Klon? Or was that your
No, it
Klon?
wasn't a
Or
Klon. I bought a full tone soul bender like long time ago at
hmm.
Guitar Center, and it was like it was expensive. I think things like $300 or something. It was one of the big ones.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the first time I'd heard something that made me go, "Oh, wow, okay," because I was used to playing Boss, pedals and stuff. Those
Mm.
Ibanez Smashbox. Um, so when I first heard that, I was like, "This is incredible," and I spent way too much money that I didn't have on it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I think you were the first person that made me realize I could sell my Klon. Like when I heard, the Mjolnir, I was
Oh,
like,
don't say that. No, don't sell it.
no,
Did you
no,
sell it?
no. It's yeah. I sold it, and so the reason
Oh,
I sold it is because I really wanted to get a Sir Strat,
oh,
and I played one in. I had like PRS endorsement and was out, and I had several PRS guitars, and I was like, these aren't really my jam. Like it's just not me.
yeah.
Because I've always been a Strat and Telly guy. So I was in LA at the Mesa Boogie shop,
Mhm.
right across from Guitar Center,
Yep.
and they had a bunch of Sirs, and I was like, oh, I've heard of Nash, I've heard of Sir. Let me pick this up. And it felt like someone came in my bedroom while I was sleeping and like measured my hand and like.
Right.
So I was like, wow, this feels really good. So that's the only reason I sold it, because when I heard the Tumnus, and then got yours and played through that, and I was like, A beat him, and I'm like, dude, it's a great pedal, but it's just an overdrive pedal, man. Like,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
can get this guitar that I really, really, really want. And
Yeah.
that's why I did it. And I was like, I can always come back to it. I can always get it later, maybe. I don't
And you
know. But
spend double the money on it.
man, it's crazy because I bought it in like 2002. I had
Okay.
one, a
Yeah.
silver one, and I paid $300 for it, and I
Right.
sold it for 1,500.
Right.
So I was like, man, it's an overdrive pedal. If I can get a guitar, it's all
Yeah,
good.
you can there's mine right there.
Yes, I saw it.
Uh,
Uh,
but I just bought it because it was that was like one of those things I just had to have it. It's like
mhm. Treat
uh
yourself.
treat it was my birthday. I was like, I'm buying this. But yeah, man, I appreciate that. I've spent a lot of time tweaking the Mjolnir to try to make it, and honestly, like the top mount version, the gold ones, they're not exactly like the real Klon.
Mhm.
But the Wildwood one, because after I got that, I can't point like that behind me. It freaked me out because like I'd played a bunch of them. I'd played them at Carter, and I'd spent a lot of time messing with them over the years, but I'd never really like had one at the house that was mine that I could use with my stuff. And it just had this wider spectrum, and so I dove way deep into the schematic for the Wildwood to say, let's make this sound as close as possible. And I think I've done it. And so sometimes I play them side by side. I'm like, I could sell that, but
That's on my list to get, man. I have of your pedals. I have the Argo. I have Golden, or the High Road, and the Mjolnir. And like, dude, I've so been wanting. I love what you did with the slapback on the Sus Marios.
oh yeah, I have,
It sounds so damn good. I was like, man, I wish he just sold a little version of the slapback. Yeah, that new design's pretty dope, man.
yeah, it's pretty neat.
It's
No,
Miami
I've
Vice.
thought about that, about just doing an echo thing, maybe with a slider, but
Yeah, it
it's not.
sounds awesome.
Well, it's great, and it's a really simple circuit. I've I can't say anything.
Do it. Do it.
Well, I thought about putting 2 of those Echoes in just one box and having just like a dual little Echo box, but and it would have like all the knobs on the top and still have sliders too. But I don't know.
I'll buy it. There's one
I'm working
person
on
here
so
that will
much
buy
stuff.
it.
Oh, well, you and then Chivalry. He's in the comments here. He would buy it. That
Oh,
he spends way too much money on my gear. He's got to stop. I need to have an intervention.
Well, it looks like he's saying that Wildwood. I mean, the Wildwood one is definitely on my list currently. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
because I've heard so many good things, and I know you talk about it a little bit, but like all your fans and all the people who purchase your pedals all talk about it. So
Yeah, and I mean, I appreciate it. I wouldn't be here without people that support this this crazy endeavor that I'm on. So,
yeah. Well, I'm gonna jump back because you mentioned Carter for a second.
Sure.
I've only been there once, and when we visited Nashville, and definitely, I went to all the haunts, all the different guitar haunts, and my wife, I drug her along, and she was like,
Poor thing.
But I wanted to ask you, what is the weirdest thing when you worked there that you saw came through that was so weird it was cool?
So weird. Oh man. I might have to think about it because there's some stuff that is like because there was a guitar, I think it's still there, that was made by Orville Gibson,
Mm.
and it looks like a piece of furniture. It has like German carve. It's an acoustic, and it's got like German carves on the top, German carves on the back. You can see all these like weird joints, and it is from like if you just saw it, you said that was made by someone who's never built a guitar before. Really strange, but it's so incredibly cool because that's made by the man that started one of the most popular guitar companies of all time. That
Yeah.
one was really strange, but like not in like a quirky, cool way. I've always been a fan of like those really crappy catalog guitars, like the Bobcat and all of those. And every now and again, you would see one that would come in that would just be absolutely mint.
Mhm.
And those are one of those guitars that mint ones and really beat up ones basically sound the same. It's not like they're not as good or bad as like if you see a really mint vintage Strat, it probably means it's a dog. Because no one played it.
True.
Like, that one doesn't sound very good. But like every now and again, you'd see those really quirky little, wacky catalog guitars come in with like gold foils and stuff. And those, I love those. But that's not that out there. I don't know.
It's out there for me because we don't have any shops here that carry stuff like that.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I mean, some of the craziest stuff we saw was like Strats that had there was one that came in, I think had a Carina body, like a vintage Strat, and I think there was a spruce one that came in with a spruce body. Like that stuff to me is like that's crazy, but I don't know. That's a hard question.
Yeah. What was the most expensive guitar that you played that they had there?
The most expensive guitar?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was for sale.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the first burst because we had the prototype like test burst from 1958 that came in, and so that one we had it priced at 635, 625, something like that.
Dang.
Yeah.
Did it sing not even plugged in when like if
it was
you just
incredible.
Okay.
It was fantastic. It wasn't because some bursts are kind of like, whether people want to admit it, are dogs, like they're not all great. They're guitars. But that one was really cool. Really good guitar. And it had been owned by one guy his whole life. And so it was really special. But that one was pretty expensive. And then, I mean, just bursts are the most expensive. I was never there when we had a flying, or when they had a flying V or anything like that. Joe Bonamassa had brought in some flying Vs, and I got to like play those, and those are easily $500,000, if not more. So,
like old Carina Vs,
yeah,
like
a 58 V, original V, because Joe has two, and they're just incredible. And
Yeah.
if he was going to sell those would sell for insane money because of him and the story, and he knows like everything about the guitar. But the first flying V I ever played was the one that's called Amos that Joe has, and that's the flying V in the background of the Spinal Tap guitar room.
It is? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Holy crap, dude.
yeah, it's crazy.
That gets even more street cred now.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it was
dude.
funny. It had and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna take it and get it refretted, new tuners, and I was like, really? And he said, yeah, because you would like strum it and you could see the G tuner go like turning by itself. So
Well, he plays them. I mean, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I said to my wife one time, we were talking about old Strats because I really want one. And she was like, dude, no. Like, we're not gonna take out a loan for you to buy an old Strat, whatever. But I mean,
it's a thing, I
mean, it's another car payment, I guess. Maybe I was like, that's how I was trying to rationalize.
another car.
Well, yeah. But I'm saying, like, if you're gonna, because how much are those going for these days? Like 27 grand. Like,
it depends. Yeah, I mean, like if you're looking at like a Rosewood, like early 60s, you're looking at 20,000-30,000.
Yeah.
But honestly, the best ones I ever played were ones that were just beat and had rewound pickups and they were refretted, and those were like 12, 15 something. And it's like, I mean, that's a lot of money still, but they were the best ones, because they've been loved, and just, I don't know, they're the best.
When you played those, did the radius get a little bit choked out up top, or like everything was cool? Okay.
I mean, as long as they're set up fine, I think, and a lot of the ones I'd played had been refretted with like bigger wire, and so they probably weren't necessarily a true 7 1/4, but yeah, they, when they're set up right, I mean, you can't be doing like 2 whole step bends, above the 15th fret or anything, but who does that anyway? No one does that.
Yeah, no. David Gilmour maybe. But man, yeah, I mean, I think the Strat Alert, I mean, I just only in the past 10 years, maybe 12 years, like really started to understand the Swiss Army knife of a Telly.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that 335 thing for me, but it's different, obviously. But as soon as because my whole history with Joey is like in like 2015 or maybe 15 or 16, whenever he did his first thing on Andertons, and I saw him talking about Open C, because I've been playing in Open E and went down to Derek Truck's hole and bought an SG and put it in Open E and all that crap. And then I was like, hold on a second, I'm going to put my Strat in Open E. Like, I'm more comfortable on a Strat, sold the SG. But then when I heard him talking about Open C, I was like, oh, maybe I can try that. And I hit him up and was like, do you teach? And he was like, not really, kind of, but let's do it. And that was my, like, I got to know him and whatever, and he played on my record, all that crap. But like, then I heard Ariel doing the baritone stuff on a regular scale, and then I put my Telly in Open or C standard. Dude, there is something magical about that Telly. I don't know what it is.
It's the bridge and just the whole thing. Yeah, it's like I want a Telecaster. I'm not a huge fan of Fender or Fender style guitars necessarily.
I know that about you.
Yeah. But I do. I always kind of like every couple months, I'm like, I should really get a Telly, But
do you have a 335 in your arsenal? Like,
no, I have just Les Pauls and Novos, and then the Revolta stuff. I do want a 335. I mean, every now and again, I'll see a used Collings I-35 pop up, and I'm just like, I could make that work, but I don't need. See. Here's the thing about me. Most of my guitars are just purely for my own edification. There's no, like, I could get by with the Squier Strat that lives in my garage for testing guitar or testing pedals. Really, that's the guitar I play more than any other guitar.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But, my R9, my Novo, all those, like, I love them. I love them. But ultimately, it's just because I want to have it. I don't really need it. So,
do we really need it? Do we need 7 guitars?
No.
Yeah. We do, Zach. We do.
I do want a 335 style guitar, or at least a center block, sort of thing. But I haven't found one that's the price and the guitar I want yet. because every now and again when I find guitars that really speak to me, I just, I have to go to my wife and say, listen, like I think I have to buy this because it's gonna haunt me. And usually I get a stern look, and then eventually we talk about it. And sometimes I get it because when I got an R4, like a Oxblood.
Here, let me see. I'm
54.
gonna zoom out, see if we can see it a little bit.
Well, it's hidden behind the Novo, actually.
Okay.
It just looks
Okay.
black. But when I got that, I held it and strummed it and was just like, oh my gosh, like this guitar. And honestly, I think it sounds better than my R9. I just I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not as easy to play because it has a huge neck on it, but
do you usually like a more tapered, slimmer neck, or?
Not really. I mean, like my R9 is definitely, a chunkier neck, but it's not like a lot of people think 50s Les Paul or 50s Gibson necks in general are huge. They're not. Just that 54 has a pretty big beefy neck. It's bigger than my 55, because I have a 55 J50 acoustic, which basically just has like a normal Gibson neck on it. And that reissue is way bigger than that 55 acoustic neck. So
okay, so here's a what if scenario for you.
Sure.
So if you're on a desert island and you have to take one of those guitars, and you only get one pedal, and it can't be from your company, it has to be from somebody else, what would you take? Or actually, I'll do this: one overdrive pedal, one modulation pedal.
Modulation?
Yeah. Any kind.
I'd take the Novo, and I'd take my Klon, and then I don't really use modulation. I'd like an Echo, but if I was going to have to take a modulation, I'd probably take some sort of Univibe. I haven't found. I sold my Deja Vibe after the whole full tone debacle, and I haven't found a replacement yet. So, but I love Univibes. I love them. So I would probably get like one of those Shiné replica Univibes in the Klon.
Yeah.
And Novo. That would do me. That would do me.
Okay. Fine. What do you think about, so if you needed to take a reverb pedal, who do you think is making like one of the best reverb pedals on the market right now?
Strymon.
Yeah, I know. The Flint, you can't beat the Flint.
You can't beat it. And like, here's the thing. Like, a lot of people are making a lot of cool stuff that does a lot of weird stuff. Most people don't need weird stuff. Most people need a good spring, a good plate, or a good hull. Maybe. Like, who uses hull? Like, I mean, let's be real here.
Yeah. If you're in Coldplay, you might, I guess, but we don't. People like you and I don't.
But I think the Flint having what it has in the reverb department and a tremolo, it's a no-brainer. I mean, honestly, one of my other favorite reverbs is the Boeing from J-Rocket, because it's just one knob and it works. Yeah. But I'm not a huge if you said, Zach, you can either have like a really basic reverb pedal or a really basic echo delay pedal, I would choose a delay.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't take a reverb. And to be quite honest, I don't play most of the time when I play guitar and I practice without any sort of a time or reverb effects. I just play pretty dry because it's better to practice that way.
Oh yeah, for sure. I learned that from Wayne Krantz. I can't believe that dude doesn't play with any reverb. And when I was at school at Berkeley, they were like, "You like this guy? Can you go interview him?" And I was like, yeah." And we were just talking about pedals and stuff that he's using. And he's like, "Yeah, I don't really like reverb. I just don't use it." And I never really did too. But like, what changed my mind was that Flint. Like, yeah, and like the 2-Rock that I just bought that Studio Signature like a couple years ago as like I'm about to turn 40 and I'm freaking out amp. And that thing's reverb is so good. But yeah, back to Univibe. I don't know if you've tried it, but I just got Jesse's 1968.
Oh, right. Yeah, I haven't played it yet.
Dude, it
sounds great in the videos for sure. Yeah. I kind of want I'm so vain. I'm so man. I want the big stupid box.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want a foot pedal, but I want the big stupid bent metal box.
Fair enough. I mean, you said you were kind of interested in doing one of those, weren't you? Like a Vibe of some sort.
I absolutely want to do one, but like the thing is, like, how do I do it? You do it one of two ways. You either make a straight up clone that doesn't do anything different, or you try to do something crazy. Like I like the Vibe 1968 because it has the two, speeds, and it like ramps and does all that. That's really interesting. But like ultimately for me, what I really want is just a basic Univibe with a volume control, and that's really it. And personally, I don't even use the chorus side on Univibes. I use the vibe side because I think that is the secret. Like most people, like people drive me crazy. I love Dark Side of the Moon. That's one of my favorite albums, like ever, period, like done. And so often you hear people like playing David Gilmour riffs and they have like a phase 90 on it with like a fuzz face. And you're like, that's not what it sounds like. Take a fuzz and take a Univibe on the vibrato mode is kind of like pretty, basic settings, and it's instant with an echo, instant David Gilmour. So, and if you don't believe me, just watch the Making of Dark Side of the Moon DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, and he like sits down and shows like, here's how I made this sound. It's a Univibe, and you're like, holy smokes! Like I thought it was a phaser. A Univibe is a phaser, but it's not a phase 90.
Yeah. I remember seeing that. That's like one of my favorite records too, man. Like, it's my older brother just like threw so much music at me because my parents weren't like, they listened to the Eagles, and I'm like the dude from the Big Lebowski. I'm just like, I don't like the Eagles. I just don't like the Eagles. I'm sorry. Right. They're great songwriters. I have super respect. I just don't like their music. I understand. But like, my older brother was like, listen to, this Pink Floyd record, or listen to, he still is really into the Grateful Dead. And I kind of grew up in a jam band because my older brother, I started getting into improvisation and stuff. But my brother was always trying to push like that style of music on me, because I think my brother wanted me to play a specific type of guitar. Because at that time, like we were talking about in middle school, I was listening to Metallica and Pantera,
right,
and Soundgarden and Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam and all that stuff. And I think my brother was trying to be like, no.
I cannot get into the Dead. I can't. Like I've tried, and like I have a bunch of friends who like love it, and I'm just like, I can't do it.
Yeah, it's not something that I listened to forever, but I just recently started getting back, just because of the songwriting and trying to take notes on how they do that stuff. Mm-hmm. And then Little Feat, I'm so late to the game on Little Feat. Just
I saw your thing with Joey, and like, when we were at NAMM, this past NAMM, we sat and it was Joey and I and Jason Chadrick, and they were like nerding out about Little Feat, and I was like, I've never really even, I don't even, you couldn't, if you played the song, I wouldn't know who that is.
Right. Well, you don't play slide, right? You're not really into slide.
I physically can't play slide because of my hand.
Oh, you're yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I've thought about learning lap steel, but that's a whole another can of worms. It's like I'm not good enough on normal guitar yet for me to learn a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But no, I can't play slide. So
yeah, well, it's a different beast, man. It's so the intonation thing is just like it's a journey. Let's say that.
Yeah, I feel I have a good ear for being in tune, like when bending and stuff like that. I feel like, because I really practice that, because I can only do so much with my left hand. Those that don't know, my left hand only turns halfway over. Like that's as far as my left hand turns. So my guitar teacher was always like, practice bending, practice vibrato, like practice things you can do and get good at those, and then everything else is fine. And I'm like, okay. But like I've played slide like over the neck, like I look like an idiot, but
pull a beer bottle out.
No, well, I have slides and I'll like put them on my finger, but like hold them and play over the neck, and I can kind of do it, but I just like, I look at myself and think, this looks so dumb. I'm not going to continue to do this. So.
There's some cats that actually do that. I can't remember who the guy's name is, but I saw some dude playing, and he was like doing that like Sacred Steel kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
And it was dope. I mean, I was like, okay, I've never seen anybody do that, but it sounds great. So who cares what it looks like?
Me.
I wanted to ask you a nerdy question, because there's this dude in Baltimore who's a pedal builder, smaller builder.
Baltimore.
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 But everybody in Massachusetts when I was there was like, dude, you got an accent. I'm like, you have an accent. But so there's this cat in Baltimore that builds pedals, Noise Kick Effects. I don't know if you ever heard of that guy,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. He has the one with the
so
cat with the eyes. It's like,
yeah. So he was at like one of my gigs, and he was like, "Is there anything that you want in a box that you don't have?" And I was like, "You know what I love is the Mooger Fooger ring modulator, the right side of that pedal. Can
right.
you put that in a small box?" So have you ever like looked at those pedals? Because he was like, "That's not. I don't know if that's possible to do that with the Mooger Fooger stuff."
I've seen some of the schematics, but there's a reason why those pedals are so big. Because there's a lot of parts inside them.
Right.
So, but I don't really know much about, because like envelope filters, followers, all that stuff is like, those are cool. Like I get it. Like that's a thing, but I've never dove headfirst into like cloning them or even playing a bunch of, I've played some of the, uh, um, it's not Moog, but the other one, that does like the one that Jerry used and all that, the Mutron.
Yeah, Mutron. Yep.
Yeah, I've played some of those replicas and stuff, and I'm like, that's cool, but then that's about as far as my interest goes. I really need to open my mind as far as different guitar effects, because I'm very much a snakes and sparklers. I like my own kind of fireworks kind of guy when it comes to pedals.
That's an amazing analogy. Thank you for that. That just
I
brought
mean,
back
that's
some
how I
memories.
feel sometimes. Like, where are your
Yeah.
chorus pedals? I don't make chorus pedals. Where? I mean, no, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it's a huge schematic. When I've looked at the schematics, I'm like, you kind of blown away that they can do all that in the size enclosure that they fitted in.
And you know what else I was thinking about to ask you? Because this is something that's plagued me since I started playing guitar. I don't understand delay pedals. I don't know what it is. I've bought so many. I've bought so many and I've sold them all, and because I just don't use them. That's why I was like, I loved your slapback, because I love, if I buy some crazy delay pedal, I only use it for slapback. And I'm just like, that's all I probably need. But like, I bought the Walrus D1. That's pretty rad. I mean, that new one.
The Mako series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cool, man. Like it's definitely kind of vibing with me a little bit more than any other pedals I've owned. Because it's not like I love what the Edge does and I love that sound. But like, I've never been able to like attain that or like understand how to use it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to think he was only using 2 deluxe memory mans, and that's like, that's like a 600-ish. I don't know how many milliseconds the deluxe memory man has. Not that many, not that much. And a modulation circuit on it, like really simple. And for me, because I've been there too, I've borrowed when I worked at Carter, I would borrow like the El Cap and all those like Strymon pedals that had all the features, and then I would borrow like the big multi-effect ones, and then I'd just take them back to work and be like, I don't like this, because I would get out my little 3-knob. My favorite delay is the Maxon AD999, which is a 900 millisecond analog delay. It just has time, mix, and repeats. And
that's one of the ones I had that I sold because I was just like, I don't use it. It's like crazy.
I love it. I absolutely love it because it is so simple, and you can do like just a few things. But to me, like every time I've tried to like get out of the box and like use more complicated stuff, I just say, this isn't me. I mean, so much so that I spent a lot of money developing a digital delay that had all sorts of features. And after I really started playing it, I said, I can't sell this because this is not me. So I shelved it.
I was wondering about that. So you just were just like, this is too much, and like it's not even something that I would use, kind of thing, or?
Yeah, well, it had some noise gremlins that I couldn't chase out, and I think it was just inherent in the design, and I would just have to rework the board entirely. And by this point, I'd already bought a couple hundred PCBs and all the components and all this stuff, thinking it was fine, and I just got really disheartened by it. And I was sitting playing it, and I just got out my little 89, the basic, like, Ibanez delay pedal, and plugged it up and played it right next to it. And I said, this is all I want. And so I immediately stopped thinking about the current delay I'm making and reached out to another designer to make me a full-fledged analog circuit. So he's about to wrap that up. We've been collaborating on that since January.
Oh wow.
But we're gonna do like an actual Bucket Brigade delay pedal with a tap, and that's it. That's really simple.
Oh wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's super exciting.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Nice.
Yeah. It should be good.
Well, it's funny because maybe that'll resonate with me more. I mean, because even now the Walrus one, I'm like, what am I doing? I don't use delay. Stop
Well,
buying delay pedals. Like,
you kind of you get option paralysis, I think.
mhm.
And like having a bunch of stuff is great if that's what you want to do. Like Joey, he has all the Chase Bliss stuff, like the mood and the blooper or whatever, and like he'll use it live to great effect. And every time I've played anything like that, I'm like, what does this do? Like, I don't. This is what is this?
Yeah,
So
man.
I just don't. It's just not me. So I get it entirely. I get it.
Yeah, it's nuts. Although, I've been thinking about saving up money to get that automaton, man. Like that thing is I know it's so gimmicky. It's like using a talk box on stage. Like I had that for a while and I was like, I gotta stop using it. It's such a gimmick. It's like a crutch. No,
Right.
thank you. But like, man,
It's
that
super
thing's pretty
cool.
rad. Yeah.
It's super cool. I love the automated sliders and the different gain stages or whatever. But to me, like, is a $700, almost $800 pedal gonna inspire you that much
Right.
versus like, go down to the pawn shop and buy some, crappy $300 guitar that makes you play a different way? Like, to me, like, that's money better spent if you're trying to do something to inspire yourself. But I understand why people are freaking out about it because it's really cool. But
It's super cool.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
I know. I probably won't buy it. It's because something else will come up where I'll want to get a tattoo and I'll spend my money elsewhere, whatever.
It's
But
funny. I had a guy in Australia. He has one of these. I got to mail him a replacement slider because it broke. Like it just popped off. And I was thinking on that Chase Bliss pedal, like, how much is that going to cost to fix if one of those things just goes and stops moving?
I know.
I'm sure
And
they baked in a lot of like, toughness, but
I thought about that too, because like, do I even want to have that on my board and have some drunk person with a beer hovering over me, and like that would be a nightmare.
Well, they're
So
making like at least I saw on Instagram or Facebook or somewhere that Joel posted that someone's making like a lid for it.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah.
But that defeats the purpose, man.
Right, yeah, like they can't. If it's clear, I kind of get it, but then like, it'll turn yellow from UV and look like an old Super Nintendo or something.
Speaking of Super Nintendo,
sure.
What are you playing right now, man?
I'm not playing anything because I'm too busy
Working
pedals. But that's not entirely true. I've been playing The Witcher 3. I was really late to the game on The Witcher, and I got it on my Switch, and then we went to England. I played it a bunch, like on the plane and stuff. And then when I got home and we weren't traveling, I was like, I should start this again because I bought it on my PlayStation as well on sale, And so I've just been playing that. But in like a month or so, there's that new Star Wars Squadrons game, the flight sim thing.
Yeah, dude.
I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I don't play as many games as I would like to. So unfortunately, but I've played a lot, before the pedals got crazy.
Yeah, you played that new Star Wars game too, right? The newer that thing was
Fallen
fantastic.
Order? Yeah,
Wow.
it's awesome.
Yeah, that game.
Go ahead.
No, go, man.
Oh, I was just gonna say that game, it made me sad in a lot of ways because I felt like the story, the characters, and everything were so much more engaging than the sequel trilogy that I got really disappointed after it.
I know. I felt the same way. I was like, man, why don't they make a series out of this, or like, continue this? Because Star Wars Rebels, my daughter, and I love watching Star Wars Rebels. It's amazing. Some of those stories are so much better. I'm like, how did they screw up? How did they have a Death Star again?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, again.
I know. And like you look at stuff like The Mandalorian and what they I don't think The Mandalorian's perfect, but I do think that it feels so much more Star Warsy. But the Fallen Order, to me, like the game, I wouldn't say is perfect, but the story is incredible. Because the the blocking mechanics in that game drove me crazy. I like,
Yeah.
and the last boss, I just had to like turn it to easy mode so I could.
Yeah.
It
I
took
did
me.
the same thing.
Oh my gosh, it was so hard.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I loved it, you know, and I really, apart from that, I haven't played many games lately. I played uh I started playing Outer Worlds, never finished it. I haven't played hardly anything. So
Yeah. Well, you're busy, you know.
yeah, unfortunately.
When all this stuff went down, my buddy was like, dude, you should subscribe to, I think it's PlayStation Now. Yeah, PlayStation Now. And it's like streaming games through like
Right.
the PlayStation Network.
Mhm.
So like all the Uncharteds were on there,
Right.
which that's probably like my favorite series. Like to talk about
Oh, yeah.
storytelling
Mine
and
too, yeah.
everything. And they're making a movie, man. Did you see that?
Yeah, Tom Holland's gonna be young Nathan Drake.
I know.
So,
I was like, that's a little bit weird that they started with like prequel kind of thing. Because that Nathan Fillion, did you see that Nathan Fillion short?
yeah,
That
it's
was
great.
pretty dope.
He's a little old, you know.
He is.
Uh,
He is.
and but it was great, and I did really enjoy that because I do really love the Uncharted series as well. I had like the HD remastered version or whatever on the PS4, and my wife and I sat down, and she'd never really seen it, and we like played through all of them. She was like, I love this. So
It's so good, man. And like
yeah.
the controls and everything. I tried to get into The Last of Us is on there. And I had all my friends being like, oh, dude, if you like Uncharted, you know, you should definitely play this. And it just felt like the controls felt different. I was like, this is not what Nathan would do. Like,
Right.
this is not how this works. Like,
It's a
so I just
totally different
failed.
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the first Last of Us, and I have a buddy that gave me the second one. He's like, you should play this. And I'm like, okay. And that was like 3 months ago. So.
So then
You are a huge nerd.
we're huge nerds. That's great. So I'm gonna end. So this is the lightning round question series I
Okay.
got for you. I got some special stuff for you in particular, and you might want to punch me through the computer on the last question, but I think that's the whole point of it.
Sure,
So
sure.
all right. So let me get this. I got to get my.
I'll never speak to you again.
All right. Here we go. And this is the first question is always the same. I'm doing this with everybody. Lennon or McCartney?
McCartney.
Mac or PC?
Mac.
Germanium or silicon?
Silicon.
Coffee or tea?
T.
Pac-Man or Ms. Pac-Man?
Miss Pac-Man.
Oh, yeah. Princeton or Deluxe?
Deluxe.
Tobey Maguire or Tom Holland?
Tom Holland.
Pizza or tacos?
Oh. Tacos.
Uncharted or Tomb Raider?
Uncharted.
Vigo or Gozer?
Oh, Gozer.
All right, here's the last one. This is the one you might punch me about.
Okay.
Joey or Billy Gibbons?
I think I'd pick Joey.
Okay. There we go.
Yay.
You survived. You survived.
I
Thanks, man.
that's hard, but I think as far as like someone who actually inspires me a lot, like all the time, it would be Joey.
Yeah.
Which is so weird because he and I, like, we talk on the phone all the time, we text each other all the time, and like, you know, we're really involved in each other's lives. And then anytime I see him play, it's like it doesn't really feel like I'm watching my friend, you know, it feels like I'm watching someone else, which is weird, but
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Billy definitely inspires me all the time. And he called me not too long ago. Billy Gibbons did.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
So, well, I don't want to ruin anything if you can't talk about anything, but like,
No,
are you?
Someone gave him an Argo and gave him my contact information, and he's using the Argo on his new solo record that he's cutting out in Joshua Tree. Yeah. And
Dude, if you could go back in time and tell yourself this, would you just like straight up pee your pants? Like, well, I mean, like, Jesus.
Nah, that's not real.
Dude, that's awesome, man.
I think he called me thinking he was calling someone else because he had a question about cables, and he said a different name when I answered the phone. I was like, "Oh no, this is Zach from Mythos that I make the Argo that you're using." He was like, "Oh yeah," and we talked for just a minute, but it was like it was super crazy. And he's like, "Can I text you at this number?" I'm like, "Yes, you can text me anytime, anywhere."
Oh my God, Zach, that's like
he's-
amazing.
I know he's not texted me yet, and I feel like I'm dating again. Like, should I text him? Should I wait?
Oh my
Would
God.
would that really put him off if I send him a text?
Yeah, it's so freaking great.
Not that I text dudes when I was dating. I'm just saying,
Well, I get what you're saying. I mean, that's oh my God, man. Yeah, if I was in a situation like that, I don't think I would believe it. I'd hang up on somebody probably. Oh yeah, that's really no, it's not.
Yeah. Well, what's really funny is because I have a Google phone, and it has the like Google Assistant that screens your calls.
Oh yeah.
And so when it's like you're getting a call from an unknown number, and I said screen call, and it just spat out this gibberish, but it was obvious that it was a person talking, but it like made no sense. And
Dude.
I was like, "What?" And then I said, "Tell me more." Or like, why are you calling? And there was like another button, and he said something again. I was like, "This has to be a person." So I answered it, and he said, "Hey, Billy F. Gibbons here." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I said,
Holy crap.
I was like, "Oh, hey, Billy." And my wife, we just finished dinner, she was like, "Is that Billy Gibbons?"
It's like those movies where you see people that throw up when they get really nervous. If you're on the phone, it's like this. Yeah, buddy, what's up? Oh my God, dude! Holy crap, that's so great. I'm so happy for you, man. That's amazing.
It was weird. It's so funny. Like, I mean, I feel really fortunate to be able to be friends with a lot of the people who I really admired. I mean, not that I'm friends with Billy Gibbons or anything, but like Danish Pete and Greg Koch and like those people who I really genuinely admire as players and personalities and people.
Yeah.
Like we talk, and that's like really amazing. I feel so lucky. And those are the kind of things I have to keep reminding myself when I get really bogged down with like just building all this stuff, because this is so much more than like running this kind of business is so much more than just like making Instagram posts and designing circuits. Like I physically have to make a lot of these things, and it's like really taxing. But when I think about how far we've come, it's like, oh, okay, it's not been for nothing.
Oh, for sure. And to be honest with you, man, that's the whole reason I started doing this show, because I look up to people like you and Joey and Mason, and like I have Charlie Hunter's going to be on here, JD Simo. I'd love to talk to Red. I'd love to talk to RJ. I'd love to talk to Pete. And I talked to Dan from that pedal show. He was like, I'm totally down. Let's do it.
Sure.
And it just means so much to me because, and I probably fanboy on you in the beginning because I was so into what you were doing. But man, it's like tools that I use on a daily basis, man, like on a daily basis. And it does inspire me to use, the Argo. Like I play differently. I play 100% differently when I hear that noise.
Right.
And the fact that you are enabling that is like, that means a lot to me as a guitar player. So just know that,
Well, I appreciate that. It's pretty incredible, like to think about that too, because I think ultimately that's kind of what most people want when you make something or like you play an instrument and you become like anyone knows who you are. Like for me, I always dreamt of becoming like a famous guitar player, but the thing I wanted was just to inspire someone else to play an instrument or play their instrument better or something. And so the fact that people get inspired by the things I make is like my way of finally achieving that goal in a roundabout way. So
yeah, well, we'll leave it at that. But thank you so much, buddy. I really appreciate your time and being on a Saturday with the family and everything. I appreciate you taking the time with me.
It's all good. I appreciate you being accommodating. It's like we were going to do this in the evening, and I was just thinking, oh man, we have dinner and then we have to get ready for bed, and then it's like, I don't think.
Dude, I get it, man. I'm a dad. I 100% understand. It's hard. Yeah. It's a hard life. Well, you guys, thanks for hanging out with us, and maybe I'll get Zach to come back in another year. We'll see what's going on at that point.
If I'm still here, we'll do it.
All right, guys. See you later.